Hello, you're listening to Reviewing History, your comedy history podcast. I'm filmmaker and teacher Brian Rupert, joined here with
Anthony Galati.
And
as always, Steve Medagliaco.
As always, I like that. Yeah. He switched it up on us because usually you do him first and then me second.
I know, because I re-listened to them, so I thought I'd throw you a little curveball.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't looking at you. I missed my cue.
Keeping us on our toes. Yeah.
What's up, guys?
Nothing. How's life?
Life?
Yeah.
It's betrayed me once again.
How's Liberty, Steve?
Sad.
The pursuit of happiness is going pretty great for me. Yeah.
Oh, great. I like how you're opening up with kind of a theme for the film we're watching today.
Yes. We're doing a nice lighthearted movie. I could not stop laughing the entire time.
It's a real riot.
Yeah. Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee.
Yeah, it's about the death of a civilization.
What a depressing fucking movie.
You thought so, huh?
Yeah. So what were your... have you seen this before?
Yeah, I picked this. I picked this one. I saw this when it came out way back in 2007. It was on HBO. It's a made-for-TV movie. And I was a teenager and bored to tears. I did not like this. But recently I saw a clip from the film on like Twitter, and I was like, I really enjoyed this clip. So I was like, let's make the guys watch this. And I got a lot more out of it this time than I did the last time I saw it.
Okay, that's good that you got something out of it. Were you familiar with this, Steve?
I've never seen this movie.
Have you heard of it?
I never even heard of it, but I do have a different title for it.
Oh.
It's Bury My Heart in Amazing Transitions.
There are some great transitions.
Some of the best.
Yes.
So
it's up there with Battlefield Earth in subtlety.
Yes.
I did want to bring this up. Did they just watch a bunch of Ken Burns documentaries and they were like, we just need still photos and we just have to make it look like a documentary?
You know what? This is HBO Films, and this is the height of their TV shit, right? This is like the apex of HBO's powers. You know, Sopranos was like wrapping up. They had just had Rome. Deadwood was on. You know, they were powerful people. And I think they thought themselves loftier than they actually were. You know, so they were putting out this holier-than-thou movie, you know, with these documentarian styles to it.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, why are you doing a fake Ken Burns thing?
At first, I didn't like it, and then I started to love it.
Just so people know what we're talking about, throughout the movie, they'll change scenes by just cutting to fake 1800s photographs
of the
actors.
Yeah,
the actors in character. Yeah.
It's supposed to look like it's from a history book, and
right.
It's just like Anna Paquin sitting there.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Did you like it?
I think it's weird because you know it's not a documentary and you know it's the actors.
I think they just didn't know what else to do.
I mean, there's a million ways to transition a scene.
They could have just showed a sunset every time and it would have been better.
They might as well have just had someone come in and just go, meanwhile, not far away.
I think I would have preferred that.
I started to love it, though. I started, like, anticipating when it would come, and when it did, I was like, yeah.
Did you like, so happy. In the credits, when they would put the fake photograph next to a real photograph of the character? That was actually kind of fun.
I gotta say, they did good casting. They all looked good, like it.
Yeah,
which
agreed.
Was, yeah.
Were you familiar with this at all, Brain?
You had told me about it when you saw it, and you said it sucked. So I was like, okay, I guess it sucks. And then you wanted to rewatch it, and I was like, all right, I guess we'll watch a shitty movie. Sure.
Did you enjoy it?
Can you say you enjoyed this movie? It's like eating broccoli. You know?
I liked it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. What do you mean eating broccoli?
It's like there's this movie and it has sustenance and it means something, but did I enjoy it? No. Like, I didn't feel good after watching it.
You needed it to survive, though.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you need films that aren't going to make you feel good. And
is it the topic? Is it because it's such a heavy, like, sad kind of topic?
It's definitely it's a heavy topic. There's I feel like the conclusion of the movie isn't satisfying in of itself. You know?
Yeah, that final scene is weird.
It's like, okay.
But I guess we'll get to it.
Yeah. But like, it just left me feeling really cold. You know?
Boy.
Like,
it's not on the other side of the spectrum.
It's not a movie that I'm gonna enjoy. You know, I don't know if I'll ever watch this again. I'm glad I watched it, and like I learned some shit that I didn't know. But you know, it definitely enjoy it is rough. You understand? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Like, did you enjoy it? Like Kingsman, we all fucking enjoyed that.
Yes.
It was a romp.
Right, yeah.
You
But
know?
nobody likes watching, I don't know.
Genocide.
Yeah.
Like, can you enjoy like this and like Schindler's List? It's like,
I will say this: my favorite episode of Band of Brothers is the concentration camp one.
Yeah, but do you have a hearty laugh at it?
I didn't go there for a hearty laugh.
Ant's just a guy who loves his vegetables. You know, he's like, give me a plate and pile with
He
all
loves-
that broccoli,
just loves
and I'm
broccoli.
like, give me a fat, greasy cheeseburger.
Ant likes
Yeah.
broccoli and a little bit sprinkled with genocide.
Brian, you're a popcorn summer kind of guy.
Oh,
Popcorn summer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I enjoyed, like, every moment of this. I
That's because it's so bleak.
not so much that it's bleak, but just the
It was good acting. It was
just
good
the
writing.
creation of it, I guess, was
There's nothing bad about it.
There's one scene that I thought was kind of awkward. He's telling the main guy, I forget his name, but he was in Wind Talkers.
Which guy? Sitting Bull?
The younger Indian guy who becomes
Eastman?
a doctor, Mr. Eastman. Yeah,
Oh, Mr. Eastman.
Mr. Eastwood. Sure, he loves you, Mr. Eastwood. Never takes to strangers. But he's talking to Anna Paquin about
Wolverine.
He's telling her the story about how he got his name.
You want to
Yeah.
know how I got this
And
name?
It's a little uncomfortable because
It's
it's like,
silly.
what are you doing?
It's silly.
You're just talking to someone. You're screaming at the camera right now.
staring off into the distance.
Yes.
But we'll get to that because we have
Yeah.
a lot to go through here.
All right, yeah. So let's start the movie.
Open, yeah. So we open with text.
Genocide.
We open with they're saying that there is gold inside of the Black Hills.
Black Hills, yeah.
Which are next to the Mushroom Mountains, which I've been to once or twice, but who's counting? Next to the blue and yellow, purple hills. Do you know this? What I'm
Are you
referencing?
trying to make a Mario reference?
No.
The
No,
Switch
but-
Palace?
I could see where you would think that.
So it's a famous Eminem D12 song. It was like a hit.
Oh.
Yeah, it's blue and yellow, purple.
I wish we had a soundboard.
Yeah,
Can we get a soundboard? Because I want to play a bomb noise
Yeah,
when
you
you
need
do
a car
shit like
crash
this.
there.
It's not my fault you guys don't get the references.
No, I did get it.
I hate pop culture for 30 years.
I knew exactly.
So I'm
what
going to
you're talking
ignore
about.
your
Yeah, but if
modern
you
reference.
made a reference to like Archie Bunker, I'd be like, right on.
It's like podcasting with like my great grandfather.
He's older than me. Brian is older than me. Just so everyone knows that.
Yeah, well, aren't you the youngest here?
Yes.
I think I'm the youngest in spirit, though.
Okay.
Yeah, I can give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
So there's text in the Black Hills.
Oh
And
man.
if you go, you can read them. No, so there is a text saying that there is gold found in the Black Hills.
Yes.
What can you tell us about this as far as background?
Yeah, I guess we need to set this up a bit. So the Black Hills, they are a region in South Dakota. They are sacred to the Lakota. They say that it is where their people originated. However, it was not Lakota territory until fairly recently,
Which they say in the movie.
which they say in the movie, which is the scene that I saw and made me want to rewatch this. Because it was like, they're showing kind of two sides to this that you'd rarely see coming out of Hollywood, especially nowadays. It's an honest movie. It obviously has an agenda, this movie. But it's honest, and it shows both sides, and that's what you want, right? So the Lakota, they're in the Black Hills, and they got there recently because about 10 years before the movie begins, they were at war with the Crow, who was their ancestral image.
I thought they were carving the presidents into the side of the Black
That happens
Hills.
later.
Okay.
In fact, they have the Crazy Horse statue is there now. You
Yeah.
know about that?
Yeah, it's there. I know.
I think it's the largest sculpture on Earth.
Really?
Yeah. Like the Indian nations have been funding this statue in the Black Hills of Crazy Horse that's bigger than Mount Rushmore. It's bigger than everything. He's riding a horse. It's pretty cool looking.
Oh,
it's not finished yet. It's still under construction.
That's cool. I would see that.
But yeah, they were fighting the Crow, and that turned into, it was called Red Cloud's War. And they kind of came out of the Minnesota woodlands, as they say in the movie, and forced the Crow out.
Well, you don't want the crow in your crops. They ruin everything.
Yes.
You got to put up.
You have to scare 'em.
You got to put up straw men.
Yes.
Or you dip like bread in Alka-Seltzer water, and they eat it and explode.
Does that happen?
Yeah, birds.
birds,
I thought it was rice.
I think it's small birds though.
I thought all birds can't burp. So if they eat like gaseous
Gaseous clay.
gaseous things.
Gaseous clay.
Yeah. If they eat gaseous things, they like explode in the chest. So like, it might be an urban legend, but like I always heard that
An urban legend that we're going to try to prove after the show.
if you dip bread in Alka-Seltzer water and
blow
you
up
throw
birds.
it and they eat it, they explode
Immediately?
when they burp.
I would assume you need the chemical reaction first.
Sure.
It should be noted that I hate the killing of animals and I would never do this, but it is like a thing I've heard about.
Somebody's a pussy. It's not
Wow,
me.
how dare you have a heart?
I would rather do that to I'd rather explode a person than an animal.
So, yeah. Red Cloud's War. The Montana goldfields, right? The way to get to them from civilization is through this thing called the Bozeman Trail. And the Bozeman Trail cuts right through this area.
And you got to wear your headphones, your Bose headphones.
Yes, you must wear Bose headphones. They sounds great there.
If you wear Beats by Dre, they throw you the fuck out.
Yeah.
You're scalped.
Get out of this party.
You are allowed Raycons by from TESD though, only if you use the promo code.
So the U.S. government gets themselves involved in Red Cloud's War to protect the Bozeman Trail. And all of this ends pretty much with a Lakota victory. And they have this thing called the Futterman Fight, where they beat it's the biggest loss the U.S. cavalry has in the Indian Wars up until the start of this movie, which, of course, is the Battle of Little Bighorn. But this forms the Great Sioux Reservation, which is a giant area that the government has set aside and said, this is Sioux land, it's theirs, we're not going to touch it from now until forever. Guys like Sitting Bull, yes, Brian?
So real quick,
Yeah.
is that considered kind of like an Indian victory then? 'Cause you
Yeah,
said
they won the war.
They won the
The Futterman Fight.
Futterman Fight.
It's a battle.
It's a battle. They won that battle. They obviously didn't win the war
They did win the war.
against us.
Yeah.
We lost the war.
Well, if you count it as a war, it's so small compared to like things like the Civil War is happening at the same time.
That's true.
This is a sideshow to a sideshow.
Uh-huh.
The government just wants peace. They don't want guys getting killed as they cross the plains. You know? So if they can come to an agreement that says the Lakota leave everybody alone, this is their territory, we're going to stay out of it, it's yours, they're fine with that. And guys like Sitting Bull don't want to sign the treaty, and he doesn't. And there's a lot of guys like him, and they start to rally around him. They don't want to sign it because it would force them to move from where they are. They designate these lands, and where he's at isn't on the lands that they've designated. So he's like, I'm not going. And he continues to be a renegade outside of the designated area. They call them the Treaty Sioux and the non-Treaty Sioux. The non-Treaty guys are Sitting Bull and his dudes, and
They're basically in a DMZ.
yeah, but the problem with that is they're actually attacking and killing people. It's not on large scale, and that's the big problem I have. The one big problem I have with this movie is they do not show at all that the Indians are actually killing people.
Well, that's something that like is really been like scrubbed from pop culture basically since the 50s.
Yeah.
You know, you never really see like because it's true they would attack caravans. Like
Right.
it's not a work of fiction.
No.
Like
They're at war.
It's two.
They're fighting
it's
for
two-
survival.
it's two warring factions, and they
Yes.
would go after civilians. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And like like you said, it's something that you wish they showed.
Yeah, it's just not there. It's implied, I guess, because why else would any of this be happening? But
They've been a warring race before they came.
Sure.
That's what they said.
this has nothing to do with the movie, but a side is, the first time Americans ever came in contact with this particular tribe is Lewis and Clark. And there's a very good story about when they were coming up.
They were coming up from the youth circuit. You know, they trained hard, working out. They were up and comers, those Lewis and Clark boys.
They were coming up, I believe, the Red River. I could be wrong. And they were hearing stories about the Lakota from the other tribes as they got closer and closer to the territory. And all the other tribes telling them, you got to watch out for these guys. They are tough, and they kill people. And the Lakota, at the time, were in the process of, like, conquering large swaths of the interior of the country and forcing people taxes, essentially. Like, if you go through their territory, you need to pay them.
Or they're going to kill you.
Or they'll kill you. And when Lewis and Clark got to them, a giant band of warriors surrounded them on the shores. And they
of Red River.
Yeah, they got off the boat and they met with the chief, and there was an incident where one of the braves tried to take like Lewis's sword, and he had to fucking pull his sword out and be like, "I'm going to kill you." And they, they swing the swivel gun. They had this boat with it's called a swivel gun. It's like this mini
like a
cannon.
rail gun, like Rambo. At the end of Rambo 4.
I think it's for buckshots. Isn't that for buckshots?
Wait, hold on. Dude,
I know.
You've never seen any of the Rambos?
Not one.
Not even when he joins the Taliban? Sorry, the Mujahideen.
That's the one I saw like part of. When he drags a goat on horseback. That's the one scene I saw.
So the first one is really good, and it's just like about the ways veterans are perceived when they come home from Nam.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is like, you know what? What if we won Nam, and they send Rambo back to basically win Vietnam alone?
He fights the North Vietnamese by himself?
Basically, it's fucking awesome.
Does he win?
He's fucking Rambo. Of course he wins.
Rambo always wins.
After the first one, it's like they just become about like America
putting him
worship
into dire
and
situations.
Like, America is back and we're kicking ass.
He kicks the cartel's ass single-handedly.
In the new one?
Yeah.
The new one, did you see it?
Yeah.
Isn't it fucking fantastic?
Ridiculous.
It's like
he builds tunnels like he's in Nam and fights the cartel with the tunnels.
Yeah,
I've never seen such blatant and brutal violence, but loved every second of it.
Dude, you gotta watch these as an aside.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'd watch them.
It's brutal Americana worship from Stallone in the 80s.
What if like he just goes to watch the Rambos and he comes back and he's like, "Guys, I got my first tattoo," and it's just an America tattoo, like just a flag.
I wouldn't even blame him.
I wouldn't be surprised in the least. Yeah.
All right, so I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
you.
that's fine.
So they have a swivel gun.
Yeah, and well,
That's for buckshots though. The swivel gun. No.
no, this is a military weapon.
It's like a rail gun.
It's like a
okay.
it's a mini cannon on the boat.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It fires the small projectiles that spread out.
Yeah, it's like
It's a buckshot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
a big shotgun.
Yeah.
Anywho, they figure that out. Nobody gets killed, but it definitely puts the fear of God in them, and that's the first encounter they have with the Sioux. And there's other ones that come later, but not important to this particular story. So, Battle of Little Bighorn. That's where we're at, right?
Yeah, we open up. A bunch of kids are getting massacred and shot. They're just indiscriminately killing women and children.
Yes, and they're getting killed by the Crow. If you notice that,
There are
it's
other
the
Indians.
Scouts, that have come in and are attacking.
Well, not just the Scouts though.
Yeah, well, the Crow have allied themselves with the United
With
States.
the Union, yeah.
Custer's men, we see it because there's this really cool shot where it zooms out.
So cool.
And-
Oh my god.
And there's like thousands of Indians on horseback circling the guys.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was awesome.
I did want to ask you a question
Yeah.
because I was thinking about this as we're watching it. Obviously, we know the Americans would or even the Europeans would use one tribe to attack another because they've had feuds that have went on for centuries before we've been there.
Sure.
If they had a united front, do you think things turn out differently, or do you think it's
Well,
the
you
same
wanna-
result but
Do you want
bloodier?
to get into the Tecumseh thing?
Let's do it.
It's so long.
All right, forget
But-
it then.
But yeah, there was a moment where a guy named Tecumseh and his brother tried to unite all of the Indian tribes in the Americas, and that's what the Battle of Tippecanoe was. That was the defeat of that. They kind of killed it in its cradle before it metastasized into something else. But yeah, of course, any kind of united front from the natives, I don't think you would have had a bi-coastal country. And depending on when it happened, if you had, because they kind of did do it by the end, but it was too late. It was too little.
Yeah,
too
they're
late.
nothing at that point.
But if let's say they do it in 1605, there is no United States. If they do it in 1780, then the United States is on the East Coast.
Yeah.
There's a tipping point, I think, where it's no longer even a fight anymore.
So let's say like 5 years before this, do you think it's too late for them already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're already fucked at this point.
I think so. Unfortunately, that's the way it went,
I mean, that's history, right?
Yeah.
So we see a bunch of brutal fights. Custer is killed.
There was a nice scene in the beginning too that I had a question about. Like, were the soldiers just shooting kids on sight like that?
So
Was that like because
I've always wondered about
I
this.
can't imagine. Like it's
seems-
hard to imagine.
It's so barbaric.
Yeah.
And like doesn't seem like like it even has a point.
But they showed something in this movie that they haven't showed, and I actually wrote down, oh, that's why they were shooting the kids.
When the kids fight.
When they get into the camp, one of the kids is stabbing the scout in the neck.
Well, that's the guy Eastman.
Yes.
He kills a soldier and he gets his feather.
That's how he gets feather, and they're young. So
Right.
you have to imagine that, these soldiers who have been going through this campaign saw this before, and it's like, fuck this, just kill the kids too, because they're going to come after us as well.
I think on some level you can imagine what it's like almost like Vietnam. Like you're going into these villages, and anyone could be a hostile,
Yeah.
But beyond that, I have heard that a lot of what this was about was they want to move these guys onto the like I said, this is Sitting Bull's guys. He's not on the reservation. They want him to go on the reservation. The best way to do that is to attack the villages so that they move them, and they move them further and further west. So the tactic itself is to attack the baggage trains and the civilian population. So I don't think they ever want to just straight up genocide them. I know that's what happens, but I don't know if that's the intention.
I think it is for certain.
It definitely is an aspect of it.
I think for certain platoons, there is an
Sure.
element of like sadism, and
Definitely.
I think you could look at a guy like Custer when you think about like his previous track record, which we spoke about in one of the last episodes, I believe.
The second scene in the movie is Grant, Custer, and the senator.
No, it's not. It's Sherman.
Not Custer. Grant, Sherman, and
Dawes.
Dawes. And Sherman is a guy who famously said the only good Indian is a dead Indian. That is his
Exactly.
quote.
And that's his stance. So I think you have guys who like that is their stance.
Right.
And it would not surprise me to see someone like that or Custer to just like they don't view these as humans,
Sherman is in charge of the entire military at this point.
Yeah, he's the
So-
big honcho.
Yeah, it's like if that's the attitude of the guy in charge, you imagine that kind of attitude would trickle down to individual units.
Exactly. So I could totally see them viewing like we're not fighting like they would never do that. Let's say we invaded like
Canada.
Spain or Canada. Like they would not do that to a white European nation. They wouldn't storm through Toronto
Agreed.
and like just start executing children. But they don't view these
There is a
as
racist
human.
aspect.
They
to
don't
the
view
whole
them
thing.
as human. Yeah. So they would I totally buy that they would do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happened. How much we'll never fucking know.
And how much do these guys later in life resent themselves for it? And they see the error of what they've done.
Like Tom Cruise.
Right.
Like
in
Tom Cruise in Last Samurai.
Samurai.
No,
Yeah.
I meant Tom Cruise now.
Today.
He is a vampire.
It's known that, him and Nicole Kidman used to just go to South Dakota and just shoot Sue.
Now, I
Tom
I
Cruise.
do all-
This is a picture of the Sand Creek Massacre. Tom Cruise is there.
He was training for a Western, and he's like, I do all my own stunts. And he just pulled out a revolver and shot a bunch
Brian
of children.
just gestured with his finger guns.
I mean, the parallels, like we even said it when we did that episode, the parallels between the samurai and the Native Americans are so clear cut.
Yeah.
That like it's just gonna happen as we do this.
I think we had a little thing we were talking about as far as like not fighting progress, and I said that you would not have the civilization we have today in the United States if the Indians were still running around hunting buffalo where people need to be farming and supplying the rest of the country with its food stocks, and it's just not going to work.
They say as much in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
which is why I kind of like this side more. As you said, they touch upon both sides. Like that's a side that nobody ever says, ever.
Right. It's
You
like
know?
these people know that what they're doing is sinful and fucked up, but it's almost a necessity for the progress of their civilization. And by that I mean the United States.
Yeah, it's for the greater good, which obviously, like, you have to say things from everyone's perspective. Like, if you're talking about Nazi Germany and you're saying, like, they tried to do X, Y, and Z, or, even if you're talking about Russia and Ukraine, if you're talking about it from Russia's perspective, you're not like, you can't morally judge them as you're talking about how they view things. Like we can play armchair quarterback to America from 200 years ago.
Obviously, we're a little bit biased. We
are
don't
American.
We are American, and we are fans of the country for the most part. And we tend to try and make excuses. I know we do. I know we try to make excuses for, maybe some wrongdoings here and there in our past. But we like to. I think we
America
try to
has
be.
wrongdoings?
I know. We try to point them out. I think, and I know we're gonna get accused of being fucking, rah rah USA on this at least.
Look, we are. We love America. We're USA guys. We can acknowledge when we did fucked up shit. Slavery, moral blight. This is up there with one of the most fucked up things we've done.
Yeah, I agree.
So. We definitely have blood on our hands. Like,
not us personally. I mean, I'm Italian at this point.
Who do you think
my people are in Europe?
Who do you think was leading Tom Cruise on that film scout? Me and him. I was like, "There's a nice one, Tom," and he would just, shoot them.
Finger gun again.
Yeah.
This scene with the president. I just want to talk about Grant a little bit. Mm-hmm. In his early military career, before the Civil War, before even I think it's after the Mexican War. He, he came back to the U.S. after the war, and they sent him to, I believe, Oregon, which, is the deep frontier at this point. And in that place, he saw the way Indians were being treated, and he hated it. And he felt a real sympathy for them. And one of the only things that he was truly passionate about in his administration once he became president was Indian stuff. He wanted the Indians to get a fair shake. But unfortunately for him, his administration was really known for being corrupt, and he was a kind of a hands-off guy. He let his cabinet run wild and kind of do whatever they wanted. And he, like Indian agents and stuff like that, were definitely doing fucked up shit right under his nose. Whether he knew about it or not is debatable.
Isn't he also kind of a celebrity president too?
100%.
Because he's a rock star from winning the Civil War, and he becomes president, and he's like, I basically have to do nothing and just kind of let shit happen.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of stuff went on in his cabinet that he was not even aware of. That was just fucked up corruption. I think his stock is kind of rising. What's his name? It's a historian, not just recently, but within the last 10 years or so.
Oh, the Grant book?
Wrote a Grant book.
I have it. I didn't read it yet.
I have it too. I've read parts of it. That book is doing a lot to rehabilitate Grant's stature in historians' eyes. It's really like a new way of looking at stuff. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's something I'm definitely going to check out. It's next up. I have that, and that same guy, I believe, wrote a Washington book.
Yes, he did.
And I have both, but I didn't read them yet. So should we get back to the movie?
Yeah, after this scene, we get the first transition. I know this
Did you
because
mark
I
it
go,
on your paper?
What is this weird picture transition?
My first note is Ken Burns transitions.
Did you guys watch The West? The Ken Burns doc series?
I did not.
No.
I will tell
it's
you.
It's one of my favorites. I've seen it like 6 times.
The Ken Burns documentaries are just hard for me to watch.
Oh, I love them.
They're so dry. Again, you're a guy who loves your broccoli.
Yeah.
I need the story. I'd rather those shitty historical reenactments they do.
You like the History Channel version of things?
I could watch. It's more watchable.
You want space aliens?
I don't need space aliens, but I need some eye candy. I can't just look at stills go across the screen.
I'll say that if
fades.
you want to talk about the History Channel for a second, before it went batshit crazy, off the rails, and everything was pawn shops and fucking space aliens, the stuff coming out in the early 2000s was fantastic.
Well, they did reenactments then.
They were reenactments,
Yeah.
but they were good, and it gave good information. It was all light. Everything is. They don't get too deep with anything. But I remember a couple of great ones that I always liked was Dark Ages. I've seen that several times. The Revolution, about the American Revolution.
The Revolution
was
one
great.
is so good.
Do you know who's doing that
Russia,
now?
Land of the Tsars.
Netflix took that over.
Yeah, but theirs suck. I can't watch them.
I watched a samurai one.
Oh yeah,
And it was
I tried to
pretty
watch
good.
the Rome one, and
It's pretty
I just
good.
hated it.
The Rome I didn't do because Rome has been done so well that I feel like you can't do it like that. It has to be a grandeur movie to really at this point, because look at the series Rome.
There's an actor. He was in Gilmore Girls. My wife watches.
You watch it. You could say it.
He was
Say you
Mr.
watch
Gilmore on Gilmore Girls, and he did all the voiceovers for that era of History Channel docs. And if you hear his voice, it's a good one.
You recognized it? Did you
Him
recognize
and Peter
immediately?
Coyote. Peter Coyote does all the Ken Burns stuff, and you hear his voice, it's like, I'm watching quality stuff.
Is he a Native American?
No.
Well, Peter Coyote. I thought.
He's in Deadwood.
Which guy?
He's the cavalry captain that comes to the town in 1 or 2 episodes.
Okay, I think I know who you mean. So we get the Ken Burns transitions, and then we get the I put Red Cloud comp. So I'm guessing there's a comparison to Red Cloud with Sitting Bull.
Red Cloud is the old man who's in the crowd, and
he's going blind.
We watch him sign the treaty that ends the fighting, essentially.
That the Great Fathers. They keep using the term Great Fathers.
Well, the Indians refer to the president as the Great Father back in Washington. They refer to Grant. As whoever the president, like they said it, when Lewis and Clark introduced themselves to all these Indian tribes out west that had never met the Americans before, they referred to Jefferson as the Great Father. And it kind of just kept going for all this time.
I kind of like that.
I like it too.
I think we got to bring it back.
It's cool.
I believe Dawes is there, and he says, "You and your people will perish," like if they don't sign this thing.
Yeah, it's essentially submitting to a new treaty. Well, let's talk about what's going on. Custer, before he got killed, was doing a survey mission in the Black Hills. They were looking for a new place to build a fort. He was there illegally because by treaty that is now Sioux land. And while he's there, he finds gold. And his report back to Washington is like a one-sentence thing about the gold. He barely mentions it. But he has 5, because Custer is such a narcissist, he has 5 reporters from like the New York Times with him at all times. So they start writing tons of shit in the press about gold. And it is like a lightning bolt under so many asses back east that the region now becomes flooded with settlers. And it's so much so that the cavalry who want to keep them out can't. And that's when you have the Al Swearingen types who are now founding towns in the Black Hills region. And it's an impossible situation because now you have tons of American citizens illegally squatting on Indian land, and they have to be protected because any administration that allows the Indians to kill these people is done.
You're setting a precedent, too.
Right, exactly. So now the cavalry has to do something, and what they decide to do is force these Indians even further off their lands.
And Deadwood is not too far from...
It's in the Black Hills. It's a mining town. They're trying to find gold in that region. So where are we? What happens next in the movie?
So the next thing
transition.
We needed one right there. Right there. We should have had a photo of me.
I wrote
a cowboy hat.
I say transition. I actually wrote. I'm starting to kind of like them.
Like who?
The transitions.
Yeah.
So then I wrote Nelson Miles equals Bear Coat.
Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Bear Coat.
Why do you write
Bear
code?
Coat is the captain, right?
He is, yes.
Oh.
Bear Coat fucking rules.
You like him?
I love Bear Coat. I think he's actually like the most realistic captain that I've ever seen.
He is the voice of the people at that time.
He's very
different.
This
scene. I think this is the best scene in the movie, where he sits down with Sitting Bull and they have an argument.
Yeah.
And they kind of just lay the crimes of each other on like in each other's face.
Mm-hmm. They said that they're both not innocent.
Right.
They're the same person. It's just their side's winning and you're losing.
This is your story of my people.
And he says, I'm telling you the truth, not the legend.
Right.
And I was like, wow, that's really powerful because that tribe was actually killing people.
Yeah.
Like they weren't innocent. Can we just discuss how pre-battle meetings were a thing? That's weird to me.
Well, where you have like a sit down?
Like, yeah, you come up with the horses and then you just speak before you murder each other.
They
like,
still kind of happen
weird.
in a way.
Do they?
Like, yeah, it's like look at Ukraine. Like Zelensky has spoke not to Putin, but he's spoken to like Russian ambassadors like over Zoom and shit.
Yeah, but not in the same room.
They don't ride up face to face, but they still talk. Before things, they set rules. They have escape routes for civilians. There is a certain accord afforded in these situations.
I think war in general became such an impersonal thing, probably during the Civil War, but definitely afterward, like by World War I and stuff, that's such an outlandish thing to happen. You're shooting at each other from yards and yards away. You never see the guy you shot. When guys are literally running at each other and they're getting face to face, how do you not go over and talk to them and try and make them understand to go home? We don't want to have this fight. Look at Braveheart.
Yeah.
I hope you washed your ass. It's about to be kissed by a king.
Even that, it's so foreign. Like,
yeah.
Like what's preventing that person from just killing you right then and there and just say, like, if you just kill the leader when they first come. It's like, well, the Indians are going to run away now. Now we're good.
It's also a very small amount of people compared to modern warfare.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think this ever would have happened like in Napoleonic times, which is before this, you know, because you have giant cores of companies moving around that are battlefields are giant regions. Whereas this, there's a couple hundred dudes involved in the whole affair, you know?
Yeah.
Little Bighorn's the biggest one, and that has, I think, 4,000 natives, you know, something like that, to compare to Custer's, you know, couple hundred.
So real quick, this scene we're talking about, right, where it's them talking and listing each other's crimes. Some American Indians, when they saw it, they like did previews for
the movie?
like reservations when it first came out, and many walked out of the theater at this point because they were enraged.
They didn't like it.
They did not like how they were being portrayed in this scene. And I think that goes to a little bit of what we were saying, where there is this myth.
Yeah.
You know, where
I think a lot of modern media wants to portray, you know, pre-Columbian native peoples as just completely peaceful. No one ever got in a fight ever. Everyone lives in harmony. Like they treat them like they're elves and not human beings.
Yeah. Well, it sells more movie tickets when you have somebody who's been put down and you want to hear their story, and you know it makes sense. But the reality wasn't necessarily 100% that. It just wasn't. Like these they've been warring long before we came here. They conquered long before we came here. They would just so happen to be the ones who got conquered this time.
And I don't understand why that would reflect poorly on them, because that's being a human being. That's what, you know, that's what whites did. That's what blacks did. That's what Asians. Everyone is like that.
I mean, that's the history of the world, is bloodshed, right?
Right.
Humans conquer other humans. Yeah.
I think it's because there's definitely, when you're the loser in a fight, like,
right.
It's like people don't want to view you harshly because you lost, you know? It's like they feel bad. Like
America 100% feels terrible about this whole affair. You know? In general.
Like, you could see it in the movie. So real quick, I want to talk about basically they say that they're going to fight, right?
Then we'll have a fight.
Yeah. And
Sitting Bull's badass
so
here,
badass.
by the way.
So they're both Bear Coat and Sitting Bull are
Two badass
dudes meeting.
Yeah.
It just so happens that Bear Coat is way better at war than this guy.
Right. And if you haven't seen the movie, I don't know why you'd be listening to this, but let's just imagine you are. Bear Coat is a cavalry captain. That the Indians call him Bear Coat. That's not his real name.
Yeah.
it's Nelson Miles.
Yeah, but Bear Coat's way cooler.
It is. And he's a typical cavalry captain, white dude, you know, giant mustache. Yeah. We see someone get a haircut. They get like their hair cut off. One of the Native Americans who is joining civilization.
I think we skipped some stuff. We skipped all the Eastman stuff.
Isn't Eastman is a kid.
No.
I don't think that happened yet.
No, it didn't happen.
He
yet.
didn't get a name yet.
It came. It's close to happening.
It's coming. Yeah.
They have to go to Canada first. So.
No, but he left them before they go to Canada. Before this battle, he's gone.
Before this battle, he sends them. Yeah, the father.
So right
sends
after
him
the
away.
Little Bighorn, this young kid who we mentioned before killed a cavalry guy and got a feather. Feather is like he got his teardrop tattoo from prison. His father comes back to the tribe, and he had been living out east as a Christian, and he wants his son to leave the tribe and join essentially the white man's world and learn their ways, because he sees what's happening to the Indians as a dead end. He wants him to just go become an American, because
become a Christian.
That's the future.
Father's great.
You think he's great?
Father was perfect.
I mean, he's probably looking out for the best interests of his son. I don't know. You know, he's betraying his entire culture, though.
The only thing that matters is your kid.
From certain perspectives, yes. From others, I don't know.
From a certain point of view.
Now, was this? I don't know if this was that allowed? Like, let's say if I'm part of the Lakota tribe, and I just like that kid was sent away and went to become a Christian and join the white world. Were you able to do that at any point?
I don't see why
like,
not.
were they
Yes.
being forced there?
It is. So the situation.
Oh, there's definitely pressure. Okay,
The situation is slightly different than it is for, you know, black people in Reconstruction, where it's like, you know, they're trying to keep them in like a certain pocket. They desperately want the Native Americans to to assimilate.
Right.
The United States would have loved
That was what Senator Dawes in the movie was all
exactly.
about.
But the United States would have loved nothing more if they were like, hey, we're renouncing all the shit we believe, and we
want to be citizens.
and we're Christian citizens. The United States would have been thrilled and been like, great, now we don't have to fight anymore. This is awesome. And that's what the goal of Dawes is.
Yeah, that's what Dawes is trying to do.
You
He's
know,
trying to bring them in, teach them at a farm, and become, suburban people.
yeah. It's not like where, if you're a black dude in the South, even post Civil War, you're going to have a hard time really fucking living freely in that society. Not the same way a Native American would, I feel.
But we're talking about at that particular moment. There were other parts in the past where that is not the case. Like you can talk about the Jeffersonian period where, you had the Indian Removal Act, which was a major big thing in American history, where you had, like, the Cherokee famously had assimilated. They'd become, Americans. And just because of their blood, they were forced out of the country and to march across the Midwest into Oklahoma.
Is that the Trail of Tears?
That is the Trail of Tears, and
Okay.
with disastrous consequences from that. So yeah, it all depends on what's happening at the time and how what attitudes are prevailing in the country and what people want. Because there's definitely ebbs and flows with that shit. At this particular moment, yes, they want them to lay down their arms and have it be over.
So I didn't know the Cherokee had fully assimilated when the Trail of Tears happened.
Jackson is known for hating Indians.
I knew he hated them, but I didn't know they had assimilated. I thought that they were like this.
Yeah, they're living in like South Carolina, and just like
being Americans,
having
like,
plantations, and it's like, oh, you're an Indian, get the fuck out. That's what happened.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
And they go to Oklahoma. Okay, so there's a fight, there's a beatdown. Danny Eastman, his father sells him basically.
He doesn't sell him. He puts him on a train.
You know what I mean.
And gives him to essentially missionaries to teach him the white man's ways. And
he gives him the chance at like a better life. And at least that's how I saw it. And the kid didn't realize it at this point because he said he didn't want to go.
What did you think of the teacher, how she got him to pick a name?
Kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant on her, brilliantly maniacal on her.
She
part.
broke him.
Yeah.
She was like that Cardassian with the Picard episode.
Gull Lissette.
Yeah, there are 4 lights. She's like, "What is your name?"
They did that in America for a long time, including our ancestors.
What do you mean?
They did that to Irish and Italian people.
Oh, you mean like change their names?
Yeah.
Ellis Island. Yeah. It's,
I was going to say, I like that scene where the father puts him on the train, and as the train pulls away, he's singing a Christian hymn. And as he gets out of earshot of the kid, he changes it to a traditional like Lakota song. I can't do it.
Yeah.
That was good. No, you did it. That sounded pretty accurate.
I understood it.
Yeah. That was a good scene. Yeah, like he's still like you could tell.
You can tell he's remorseful about the whole thing.
He's remorseful, but
he just feels like he has to do it.
He's doing the right thing.
Right.
He was put in a position and he made the best of it. And when you see how he turned out, it's like, was the father wrong? Probably not. It looks like he did the right thing for his son.
So the teacher broke him. Some would say she groomed him to believe a certain thing.
Yeah, he was definitely groomed.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy her methods? Did you admire her?
She is quite psychotic. Like I could never picture being that psychotic to a student where it's like, I'm gonna change your name, I'm gonna fuck with your head. Like
I like that he knows the 4 presidents, because they have this moment where she's like, who can name the last 4 presidents? And then everybody, they're in a schoolhouse. If someone can do it, then you leave early.
All the kids get to go home.
She knows that he knows the answer and no one else does. But she won't call on him unless he chooses a Christian name, and he just won't do it.
So how does she get him to...
Well, we don't know yet. That's later.
That's
later.
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
later. Right now, it's they went through the battle, and the losers got sent to Canada.
Yeah, so the battle happens, and the Indians get turned back because they have artillery. The cavalry has artillery.
The Canadians have stupid fucking hats.
It's the Mounties.
It's not the Mountie hat, though. It's like a white hat.
Yeah, it's like a white...
They were Mountie police.
Yeah, it's just a horrible
It's
hat.
the same hat that you would have seen in Africa, because it's the British Empire,
Okay.
in like the Zulu Wars and stuff. Like,
It's a stupid hat.
once again, we go back to Khartoum.
Yeah.
I don't think that tribe knew how cold it was in Canada.
Yeah, and they're from South Dakota, so you'd think that they're ready for that.
The
harshness.
Mounties told them, they're like, you're not dressed for this.
Do you know what province they're in?
Are we saying province instead of
Province?
province?
That's how the Canadians say
Provincial?
it. So I'm honoring.
Is that how they say it?
Province.
How do they say? Do they say Tim Hortons?
I don't know, but they do
Hortons?
say province.
Okay.
That's real.
I'm gonna guess. I don't know this. Is it Alberta?
No, it's Saskatchewan,
It's Saskatchewan.
which I believe is in Winnipeg.
Yeah, probably close to there.
I think it's central Canada. So that's where they are. It is fucking cold
Yeah.
and shitty.
The Canadians welcome them.
Well, they
Kind
do
of.
they do give them limits.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they can't have them just going nuts.
Well, there's another
They
tribe
don't want them
there.
upsetting the local
Right,
tribes.
there's another tribe. All they have to do is just not be dicks. Just don't be
But
dicks.
they
You'll be
have to
good.
survive, and that's easier said than done. And we're not there yet. What happens, right?
Which part? Because right now they had a problem.
Someone is caught fleeing and they shoot his fucking horse.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the people are not doing good. These are Sitting Bull and his followers are now in Canada, and they're having a hard time. And there's one guy whose daughter is sick and dying, and they want to go back to their homeland. They want to go back to the reservation, because when you're on the reservation, we forgot to mention this, you are promised by the government rations.
But you do eat on time.
supplies. You eat on time. They're essentially being put on the dole, which is not exactly very American, especially at the time.
I have one of my notes. Is this one of the first big government programs?
Definitely.
It has to be in the history of our country,
yes.
right?
Yes. What makes everything go bad is when they try to revoke their Second Amendment.
Yep.
These people want to go back and give up and go back to the reservation. Sitting Bull can't have this. He doesn't want people to leave or they'll be followed. So he shoots the guy's horse and just condemns his daughter essentially to death because she's not going to make it if they can't go back. And yeah. Oh, I should point out, you promise these things on the reservations. A lot of times it doesn't get to you because these Indian agents are so corrupt and they steal shit.
Or you get it late, or
Yeah, you
things
get
went
late,
bad.
right? Yeah.
It's typical big government, communism, socialism shit. Your shit's fucked up. So anyway, there's another tribe. The Canadian police show back up, or they show up again, rather.
It's the Crow.
It's the Crow, and they're like, "Hey,
Somebody jacked our horses.
someone took their horses." And one of their conditions was they couldn't break any rules, so they had to leave Canada. They stole the horses, and now they're thrown out of Canada.
Well, the Sitting Bull tries to make amends for it.
He does. He wants the thieves whipped.
Yeah, he's like, see how I deal with this. And he whips his own guys who stole the horses. He didn't know. It wasn't under orders. They did it, just to do it. And,
They did to steal horses.
right. And he whips the guys. I don't think they're forced to leave. I think they come back after things get so bad. His son leaves. They have this scene where his son actually abandons him and goes back to the reservation. Meanwhile, we learn that the kid is now grown up back in
A lot
D.C.
of time passed.
Yeah. We go forward like 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
The kid is...
Not 20, about 10
Yeah,
15
something
years.
like that. He's now a grown up. He's become a doctor, and he is like the protege of this Senator Dawes.
I was just a boy then, but now I am a man. See?
And he's
That's the nightmare.
It's always sunny. He's checking out Anna Paquin, who was hot back then, is hot now.
You
And
like her?
She's hot.
She's got a weird mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
a pretty mouth. That's so creepy.
She was a vampire, right?
Yes. True Blood.
She became a vampire?
The story was really bad. I
Well,
didn't
no,
finish it.
she was a vampire
She was like a
lover.
fairy.
She's a fairy?
She gets
Yeah.
like banged out in every episode. You
Yeah,
see her
yeah,
tits a
yeah.
lot.
I've never seen that show.
That show
Just
is
watch
just
the sex scenes. You
That
see
was a
everything
sh-
you need to
That
see.
was a
Yeah,
show
yeah.
for chicks.
Yeah.
It is, but the sex scenes with Anna Paquin are good because it's
Anna
Anna
Paquin.
Paquin.
Yeah.
Was that on at the same time as this, or was it a little after?
Yeah, I think it was a little after, like maybe a couple years.
Definitely after. Yeah.
Like maybe it's between 2008 and 10. It's in that range.
But he's given speeches on behalf of this guy, Senator Dawes, on behalf of the Indians. And what they're planning to do is get them to sell large swaths of the reservations that's been set aside for them.
Now, I'm confused about this, but and I want to ask you about it in a second.
Sure.
But I want to talk about Henry Dawes first.
Yeah.
Do you believe he is a good man, or do you think he's a scumbag trying to fuck the Native Americans?
I think he's pretty altruistic. His heart's in the right place. His solution to the Indian issue is not the one that the Indians want. It is his own pet project that he believes is the best course of action for them.
Well, he's also has America's interest at heart, right? So he's trying to do
his best for everybody,
which is impossible.
In his opinion.
What do you think would have been the best situation for everybody?
I am a proponent of, like, if it was my civilization that was being destroyed, fight until the last fucking man. You know, kill everybody.
Okay,
but
so
it wasn't my
it
was my civilization doing the destroying.
So you're like the Native Americans should have just fought till extinction.
Until it suited, and they pretty much did.
Yeah.
You know, what would you do? People should know when they're conquered. Would you? Would I?
It's a little gladiator right there.
Yeah.
I think I wrote that in my notes.
So no, but like, do you think this was the best possible solution at this time for everybody?
What are the other solutions, though? Realistically,
Complete mass genocide.
Right? So, yeah, I think that's probably one of the better ones.
I don't even know if there's another solution.
They have the chance to assimilate.
Make it a complete separate state, not part of America, which would never fly.
It's almost beyond the point of genocide because the genocide has already happened. You know, these Indian tribes have been on the decline for almost 400 years at this point. From the moment the plagues started hitting the Americas way back in the 16 and 15, even the 1500s, it's almost the population has been decreased to the point where it's not replaceable. And we're at the very, very, very end of all that at this point. And it's like the genocide has happened. Now, how do you go beyond it? How do you reckon with the aftermath? And I don't know what the right answer is.
I think he was doing his best.
I really do. I don't believe Dawes was a bad man. I think he really is trying his best.
Yes.
And I think we could all agree that he is history's greatest victim in all this because of how he's viewed now.
He's history's greatest victim? Not the dead.
I thought that'd get
Poor
right.
Dawes.
We can all agree.
How is he viewed now? Did you read up on him?
Dawes has kind of a mixed reputation. You know, it's so ambiguous, like with how he is viewed. Like, it's complicated. This whole issue is very complicated, and I don't think like the Native Americans have like a good view of him.
From his perspective, he's essentially saying your culture is dead. You've been conquered. Now become Americans or die. And the or die part isn't we're going to shoot you. It's that your life is going to be unlivable.
You're gonna starve to death.
Yeah.
Which now there was something in the movie about this, but are the plains like unfarmable?
The area they're in is desolate. It's cold. It's very difficult to grow
Crops.
You know, you can, but you're not going to get great yields. The buffalo are extinct.
Well, we've mass killed them to starve them.
Partially, yes. The buffalo craze that happened in the 1870s drove them pretty much to extinction. They're back now through like inbreeding with cattle. That was not the case back then. There was a huge demand for buffalo stuff, like coats and
Josh
carpets.
Allen jerseys, Stefan Diggs stuff.
There's amazing photos that you can look up of just thousands of skulls piled up, buffalo skulls.
I saw a picture of basically there was an order to kill like every buffalo, and it's just buffalo corpses stacked like a pyramid, and there's just an American cavalryman standing on it.
Yeah, like one guy can kill 100 of them in a day. You know, they would have parties where people would ride the trains through, like when they would build new railroad tracks you could ride the train through, and people would just be on the train with rifles and just shoot the buffalo as the train goes by, like a drive-by. It was really that was the real genocide.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, didn't the buffalo didn't they just rise up from the endangered species list?
Maybe recently.
I believe recently, they're starting to come back a little.
Yeah, they've made a giant because they were gone.
There was 2 left.
Yeah, and they're a thing now that you can go buy a buffalo burger at certain restaurants now. They're back, but it is not the same buffalo that was around back then. It's like a hybrid.
Okay.
That's
It's close.
how much buffalo is in there. I don't know.
So this is something that confused me, and I wanted your to clarify it. So the Sioux have their territory, right?
It's called the Great Sioux Reservation. It's been reserved for them by the government. It's their land, but the government runs it.
We're letting them have it. I understand.
Mm-hmm. They own it.
I'm confused about that. They have to sell it to white people. How does this work?
He wants to buy large portions of the Great Sioux Reservation and open it up to white settlers.
So basically, they would be pushed into it.
It'd be like you own a house. He wants to buy your front lawn. Yeah. So he wants you to buy your lawn and your backyard, and you just keep the house.
And it's just giving them a smaller and smaller area.
Right. Exactly.
And they're trying to force their hand by we'll take this away, we'll take this away, we'll cut your rations. So then we are introduced to, I guess, who is kind of the villain of the movie, if there is a villain, J.K. Simmons. And he says, I want pictures of Sitting Bull.
No,
I don't like him. He's full of stickum.
He doesn't want Sitting Bull taking pictures.
Has he always been 65? He just looks the same forever. Forever.
He always plays a great asshole, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's such a fucking good actor.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Have you
everything he's in?
I've never seen him be bad. He pops up in something and you're just so happy.
Oh, it's J.K. Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a great mustache.
He's the Indian agent.
He is James McLaughlin or McLaughlin?
I think it's McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. It's Mac MC Laughlin. McLaughlin?
Skipped a cool scene with them in the teepee and they catch a mouse and they throw it in soup.
Oh, yeah.
Without skinning it.
Yeah. Mouse
or
soup.
taking the fur off.
Yeah. That's just how dire things are in Canada.
Yeah. But that's why he comes back. That's an
Sitting
important
Bull
part.
comes back.
He comes back. Yeah.
And he surrenders.
He has to. He has no choice. And, they say, you can farm here, you could do what you want to do. And he's like, nah.
He's like, I don't want to farm.
That. Why doesn't he want to farm?
I'll tell you what.
They're nomadic people. They don't set down roots, right? That was my guess.
Generally, they do not farm. The reservation is making them farm. It's changing their way of life. Because they live off the buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can't do that anymore. So the reservation agents want them to farm. It's part of what's going to assimilate them. And Sitting Bull does not want to do that for the nationalistic reasons. He also, what they don't show in the movie is that since the Battle of Little Bighorn, he has become a massive celebrity worldwide. And Buffalo Bill Cody has found him, and Annie Oakley and the Wild West show. They mention it in the movie. They mention that he went with Cody, yeah. And they have traveled the world. He hasn't just been sitting in this reservation for years. He's gone all over the place. I think they did a show on Staten Island, in fact, where they...
I would love to time travel and go to that.
Yeah, where they have this big Wild West show, this traveling circus, essentially, where they show all the legendary stuff of the Wild West in an afternoon.
That's pretty cool.
They travel it across Europe and stuff. It's a huge success. He makes a lot of money doing this. And he also, they show this in the movie, that people will come up to him and they'll pay him money for a photograph.
Or an autograph.
Yeah. And they just want to talk to him.
It's the first conventions. He should have started convention. He could have made a fortune.
They show him take the money and then give it to the little kids.
Yeah. He's also, they kind of portray him as kind of an asshole.
Mm-hmm. He's not.
He's a little bit of a liar, a boaster. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's accurate to the real man. It might be.
So that was something that American Indians watching this, a lot of them had a problem with that. And one of the things that people said about this, and we'll talk about this in a future movie we watch as well, is people that are portrayed as saints or they have such a stature. Mm-hmm. When you portray them even a slightly realistic portrayal, people don't like it.
Yeah.
and they get upset by it.
Like, I'd get mad if George Washington was a dick for no reason in a movie.
Exactly, but
You
like,
know?
are we gonna pretend like the guy probably wasn't an asshole at some point?
Oh, I'm sure he was.
You know, it's like
He's human.
they're human beings, and when they get put on pedestals, this is kind of what happens.
Right.
I don't feel like America does that as much though, but like at least too much. We do it in a sense, Lincoln, to be exact. But
We have a couple of holy men.
But I don't think
Lincoln is one of them.
Yeah, I don't think if they
Washington.
portrayed Lincoln in bad light, I don't feel like that we would walk out of a theater because of it. It would
No.
just be like, oh, whatever. Like, he's human, you know? Whereas this is like a holy kind of thing.
Well, not to spoil what we're going to talk about later, but 42, Jackie Robinson, there's a national myth about the man,
right.
and he's one of those guys. You know, and we'll
Okay.
talk about that in detail later. But you know,
Next episode. Episode.
So yeah, he's a little bit boastful. He tells some fibs. He calls himself the greatest living Indian.
Did they refer
J.K.
to themselves
Simmons-
like that, though? Did they refer to themselves as Indians?
that's his billing
Yes.
name.
like they
Yes.
did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, they wouldn't say
I wasn't
Native
sure.
Americans.
No.
Well, I figured they would say Lakota at least. I didn't.
Yeah, well, when they're talking to each other, they don't say it, but that's what the white man calls them. So
that's
that's
what
what they
they
are.
say,
you know?
okay.
They're not even like they're like we've been kind of throwing the names around. The Sioux, the Lakota, the Dakota, they're all the same people. You know, it's just different names for them. It's like the Sioux is French. That's what the French call.
I did not know that. I thought the Sioux were different than the Lakota.
No.
Okay, I didn't know that.
That's why we have this podcast.
Yeah, I learned something today.
For us to learn.
They're like different sects from the same larger people.
different
It'd be
Yeah.
like we're Americans, but I'm a New Yorker and you're a Floridian or whatever.
Yeah, it's like if I said Algonquin,
Yeah.
you know, that's the,
Upstate New York,
That's
right?
the people that lived around this area. The Lenape are part of the larger Algonquin family of like languages.
Okay.
You know, the Lenape live right here where we're standing.
Hey, watch your step. It's a very small room. When the Lenape are just
There's
walking
literally
around.
thousands of people in this room right now.
They all have to be really quiet.
Yeah.
We record this in the black hole of Calcutta.
Every time someone speaks up, Brian shoots him in the face.
I have Tom Cruise on standby.
They show like life on the reserve, and it's clearly brutal. Clearly brutal.
And they have taken their balls away. Like they want to hunt for red meat. And
That's,
they're not
that's one of my
allowed.
favorite scenes.
yeah,
That's one of my favorite scenes.
they let us hunt here.
His Sitting Bull's son is all excited because his dad came home. And he's like, look, they let us hunt here. And he takes a gun, and somebody rings a bell, and a cow comes out of a barn and goes into like this pen. And then his son, just making a fool of himself, starts whooping as he goes in and he shoots this cow. And Sitting Bull makes his face like he just watched his son make out with a dude. It's
It's so pathetic.
He's so
is, yeah.
disgusted by the whole thing.
And there's a lot of kids dying. They show a lot of kids dying there, and was
The reservation gets hit with several
pretty bad
outbreaks,
diseases.
yeah.
Now, was it like rare for that to happen on the planes because they were spread
No.
out or just isolated? I feel
No.
like it was constant. Like they had to be constant death there, right?
No, and it's not just there. It's like pick a homestead.
Everyone's dying.
You know, it's not exclusive to these Indians.
Right,
Like
right.
the pioneer life is a hard fucking life. You know, pick a homestead anywhere out there.
There's a
Like
reason why in the
Wyoming.
There's a reason why in the Oregon Trail you almost never make it. You die of dysentery every time you
Almost
play.
every
This is
time.
true.
Yep. They knew what was up.
You know, I had a class in like the 5th grade where the only way you pass it was a computer class. The only way you pass class is if you can complete Oregon Trail without anyone dying.
You had a sadistic teacher.
I had a class like that in the 4th grade, but you didn't have to pass. You just had to play Oregon Trail, and we would
Yeah.
play it all the time. And as an aside, one time we had to write a story about like our adventures on Oregon Trail for like our English class that followed. And I was into like pirates and like old English stuff at the time. And I wrote the paper like I was
Ye Olden Brian.
yeah. And I was like, you know, I was with my mates and like all this. And I got up and I read it in front of the classroom.
Everyone
And
was like,
because
"What
I
the
said
fuck is wrong with
because
you?"
I said mates, everyone laughed at
You
me.
actually said mates.
Yeah, like me and my mates. And
Me mates.
Me mateys.
I didn't say me mateys,
Drink
but
up,
I was
me
like,
hearties,
I was like,
yo ho.
I was like, you had to say what you and your like friends, because it was like you and like 2 other people in your class. You shared a computer, and you had to say what you did that day. And I was like, we did this, this, and this. Me and my mates, and blah blah blah. And the whole class laughed at me, and I felt really embarrassed.
Brian, his whole life, just wanted to be in the Caribbean. That's all he wanted to do.
Another thing that's in the movie that relates to my life is the outbreak of whooping cough.
How does it relate to
Yeah,
your
how's
life?
that?
Okay.
You have whooping cough
What did
right
you
now?
want us to say?
Should we stay away from you?
I thought I'm contagious. No, so
Aunt dies of COVID in 2 weeks.
so when I was in 3rd grade, I learned a way to fake myself having whooping cough, and I would throw myself into coughing fits in the classroom every day when I was in 3rd grade. And I would get pulled out of class because the teacher couldn't have me in the room, and I'd be like,
You'd fake cough to get out of class.
They knew you were faking. You're a
it.
third grader.
It was probably.
How
but looking
convincing!
back on it-
Brian's like, I'm a world class actor. I've
The
trained at
teacher says,
Juilliard.
this little shit is coughing again.
Go away,
He's just
Brian.
go to the nurse.
You're just
get out.
embarrassing.
I will tell you, I do think it was believable because like it was such a deep
He
like.
still does it today in class.
No, I can't do it anymore.
it.
I seriously.
it.
No, I've tried. I've lost the ability. It was like it sounded almost like a goose. Like it was
like when you have bronchitis kind of
yeah,
thing.
like that's not a cough. But it was so loud and disruptive. I'd be asked to leave the class, and I would time myself as I walked like further away. I would make it softer and softer, and when I rounded the corner,
Like when Chip Douglas walked away from the door in Cable Guy.
exactly.
Bye.
And once I turned the corner, I would stop coughing, and I went, and we would go to the nurse. And like I'd start coughing again, and I'd get pulled out of school, and my father would take me home. And I did this like at least like 2 or 3 times a week in 3rd grade.
And your father put up with this?
They thought I was sick, like they were bringing me to medical doctors and shit. Yeah, they put me on I had been off a nebulizer. They put me back on, like they couldn't figure out what was wrong with
He
me.
only gets sick at school.
This is how Brian gets out of meetings nowadays. Starts violently coughing.
I just vomit. Okay, so there's disease, there's famine, there's all this stuff.
And now the
Eastman comes
natives
to the
start
camp.
meeting. They start meeting up.
Hold on, Eastman comes to the camp and becomes the camp doctor.
Oh yes.
And the what's her name? Anna Paquin's there too.
Her name is Elaine Goodall.
Yes, these are all real
Elaine
people,
Goodall.
by the way.
They are. Yeah, this is a real story.
He's in the reservation, and this whole thing with they're trying to buy the land is happening. Meanwhile, there's disease outbreak. It's just a bad situation for everybody. And then, I guess we can get to the ghost dance. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, this was before the ghost dance.
Oh,
They start meeting up, and this guy is telling them a story how the white man is going to be defeated.
that's the ghost dance.
They weren't dancing yet.
But that's a guy. His name is Wovoken.
Uh-huh.
He invented the ghost dance. He's like a holy man that's come out of the West,
Oh, okay.
and he's created this thing called the ghost dance cult, where he's teaching all these Indians a new dance he's invented, because they have like ritual dances like the sun dance and the rain dance and all this stuff. He's invented the ghost dance, and what it's supposed to do is pretty much revert everything that has happened in the last 100 years. The buffalo are going to return.
All the white men are going to die.
The white men are going to die. He gives out shirts to people, he makes ghost shirts. I'm serious. You're looking at
Really?
him crazy. Yeah, he makes ghost shirts, and he tells them if you wear these, bullets can't penetrate them.
Yes, he was saying that. He was saying that in
Yeah.
the movie.
And,
But he was doing like sign language almost.
That wasn't him. That was another guy. The guy who says that, but that's what
yeah.
he was referring to the ghost shirt.
Okay.
And like it's not like they're wearing a sheet. It's like they call it medicine. It's like all kinds of spiritual items,
Okay.
like feathers and things like that.
How'd that work out for them not getting shot?
Boy, was he wrong.
Yeah. Well,
What about a snake oil salesman?
there's still people today that follow the ghost dance and shit.
Yeah. there
Oh,
are.
really?
Yeah.
Still not working, huh?
That part of it, I think, kind of went out.
Yeah, it's just a tradition, cultural tradition.
And it's the guy who played Magua in Last of the Mohicans, and he's in every Western in like the 90s.
He's the token Native American.
Yeah,
the
he's
Jean
so great. I love him in everything. I always forget his name.
He is a good actor.
He's in Dances with Wolves.
So the white people had their own version of the ghost dance.
What is it?
They would get together and they would put their hands on clay pots, and Unchained Melody would play. And they wouldn't dance as much as they would just mold. They would mold pottery, and that was the white people's version of ghost dancing.
The prophet Swayze.
Yeah.
We put that on shirts now.
Yeah. Sam Wheat.
If you do this dance, coffee will be cheaper in Williamsburg.
The rock music will come back to the radio.
People will like Joni Loves Chachi. I couldn't think of Scott Baio's name until just now.
I was like, isn't his name Scott Baio?
So
Then there's Sitting Bull slander.
Yes.
yeah.
So J.K. Simmons is making Sitting Bull's brother talk shit about him and say that he didn't fight at the Little Bighorn and shit.
Calling him a coward.
He's got to
and shit.
drop the hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's misbehaving. He's got to drop it.
J.K. Simmons is all about slandering heroes in the press, right? He's all about it. He came for
he's typecast.
He came for Spider-Man. Now he's after Sitting Bull.
How did he make it through both versions of Spider-Man?
Honestly, the real reason is because in the last 20 years, he is probably the most perfectly cast actor for any role ever.
As that character?
Yeah. Like, there's literally nobody else I could think of that could erase that from your mind. You know? He's that perfect.
He looks like the cartoon character.
He's exactly. And he acts like exactly how you read him, you know, loud and boisterous. It is perfect. Like, he should be forced to play him until he dies, and when he dies,
think he has been.
It should be like a CGI image of him. Like his likeness should be forced to do that for all time because he is.
You
perfect.
serious?
Like you know how did you know that what's his face, James Earl Jones, has recorded hours of dialogue for Disney that is unused, and he will be voicing Darth Vader after he dies.
That's creepy.
Like, he's read, like, every word.
Disney is so weird.
He's read, like, every word in the English language. And, like,
That's
when
amazing.
he dies,
Ball.
they're just going to plug.
Chrysanthemum.
So he's just skipping letters. Like, he just does it randomly.
I hope when they cut it together, it's not like clean and crisp.
It's like Return
gonna
of
be,
Chef.
It's gonna be like the Return of Chef in South Park.
I want to make.
I wants to make love to your rectum, Kyle.
Hello there, children.
Hello there, children. It's just so now, if let's assume they weren't dancing all the time, the Indians. Do you think they could have made the reservation better, or was it just a lost cause?
I think in time they probably could have, and they did.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing with the ghost dance. Like, they are preaching death to the white man, and people hear this, and it scares people because what the movie fails to really show you is that there is a real threat posed by these people. Until 10 minutes ago, they were a warrior people that were killing people, you know, and if they decide to go off the reservation, quite literally, they could fuck shit up and hurt people. And it is not outrageous to think maybe we should do something about this. And so, of course, guys like J.K. Simmons and the other Indian agents call in the military to observe what happened.
And the Indian agents, as we say what they are, they're basically the wardens for this giant prison.
Yeah.
Because it's a giant living prison.
But they offer them money for land now, right?
They're supposed to do... They're like the conduit of the government to these people. Because these people are now essentially under the care of the government.
Which is just open for corruption.
So Dawes offers them, they have a $12 million offer.
Or paddle balls.
At 125
Blazing Saddles. That's a racist joke from Blazing Saddles. They
box,
love toys.
A box of these.
Oh, boy.
thinking of the scene.
I hope the Sioux aren't listening to this show.
So the Sioux are offered
$12 million.
$12 million, which is $125 an acre.
Oh, you looked it up?
They say it.
Oh.
They say $12 million for a total of $1.25 an acre. And the offer has went up because when they first started the movie, it's $1, I believe.
50 cents.
I think it was
50 cents.
50 cents.
Okay.
So it's gone up a lot.
Yeah.
So now in the
It's
translation,
like the current home rates.
the translation of that, let's say you had like 10 acres or something. I think it's like $2,000 for your 10 acres or something like that. I don't know the exact amounts. You can look it up.
So it's
but
not a great deal. Even
It's
back
not a
then.
great deal of money today. But if you had a lot of land, you're making like $10,000, $20,000. It's enough to assimilate into an area and like get a house.
This
You
is
know
a
what I mean?
point we should point out in American history where land for the first time is starting to become scarce. Because you had very recently the Homestead Act, which was the government will give anyone land. If they go live on it and work it for 5 years, it becomes yours for free. They just wanted people to settle these territories. And now they're actually paying for it. This is a new thing. The railroads just recently gained tons of land by just building rails on it, and the government paid for it all. So yeah, this is a weird thing, at least at the time.
Yeah. But if you're living in a reservation, right, and it's like you have X amount of acres somewhere like that, they're going to give you, or they'll buy it from you. Like, what are you going to do? Say no? Because eventually they're just going to take it. At least that's what he's telling you.
So $12 million in 1878 is worth $345 million today.
Oh, that's nothing. That's nothing.
For all that
For
land?
land,
all that
it's
land.
nothing. But
Yeah.
it's split between how many people?
Well,
That's
it's
why.
for the tribe, right?
Yeah,
So
Right. But the tribe is, what?
I assume a few
Thousands,
thousands.
yeah.
Tens
So you have to
of
figure
thousands.
you're probably getting, you're getting a decent amount, but nothing to brag about. Especially because it's land that's
how
not
much?
really
How much
good.
do you think that land is worth today? Billions.
Oh, billions, yeah.
You know.
An insane amount.
go to the government. So we're interested in purchasing South
I think they
Dakota.
said,
we want to buy half of South Dakota.
I think they said in the credits of this movie that they're trying to get $3 billion for
well,
it.
we'll talk at the end real
Right.
quick about that.
Well,
I
it's
did,
okay.
the government has made an offer.
I did pick
Yeah,
up
yeah.
on something that Dawes does, which I'm not sure you guys did. And it's a very subtle racist thing people do. Have you ever noticed when you're talking to someone with an accent or from another culture, sometimes you imitate, even subconsciously, their way of talking?
I don't. I make a point not to do that because I think it's the most embarrassing thing a person can
But
do.
you know it happens.
Oh, I've seen people do it. I know a good friend of ours that does it a lot, and I make fun of him for it. I'm not going to say.
Mouth it.
I'm not going to say.
You're not going to...
No, Beaver knows who it is.
Is it me?
Yeah, I know. We just look at you. No, I don't think you don't do this. No.
No, it's not you.
No,
bro.
no.
Okay. So,
I,
wait, but he starts doing like that Native American inflection to
Yes.
them, and it's so like cringy. And you see it all the time, and it's just a little subtle thing I noticed in the movie.
He's
That-
talking to them like they're children. It's very insulting.
He is, but it's also because you know how I don't want to do an impression and get canceled, but you know how they have
I've
almost
been
like
doing it the whole show.
it's, but it's that almost broken way of talking where they kind of have like more pauses, like Little Bear goes
Yes.
to the
to
forest.
try to make you
Wampum.
understand.
Yeah, like I don't want to mock them, but that's just their inflection.
Yeah.
And he does that to them, and you see him in other scenes, and he's not doing it, and it's clear what he's doing.
Right.
And that's
that's
a great,
brilliant on the actor.
That's a great
Yeah.
subtle little performance part. You know,
Brilliant on the actor.
whether it's the direction or him, that was good. Then there's this signing scene where they're like, "You're gonna cut our balls off."
Yes. Sitting Bull gets up and makes a speech about how they can't sign this thing. And to do so would be like consigning themselves to eradication. There's just be nothing left of them. Their culture would be completely destroyed.
Well,
and
their
dead.
rations are slowly being cut up too. So they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah. So, as we said, the ghost dance is happening, and more people are getting involved with it and
They're going to the club.
participating. And this is scaring the whites, and the whites call in the military, And once the military's there,
Got to shut down the club.
It's kind of like it's inevitable at that point that some incident is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, please, it's slipping my mind right now. Why do they want to arrest Sitting Bull?
He is starting to back the ghost dance movement, and they don't want him to join and rally everyone. So they want to preemptively arrest him.
Take him in.
Yes, they want to get him. They want to nip it in the bud.
They want to like put him someplace safe.
He's disturbing the
Exactly.
peace. He's disturbing the peace.
Well, he isn't, but he could.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the type of guy where, especially in this movie, the way he's portrayed, you could see it.
Well, I mean, you say he's not, but he stopped the signing.
Yes.
He's the reason why the signing never happened,
Right.
which is actually going to cause more turmoil anyway. So technically, he kind of is disturbing it.
So
Because if he wasn't there, that thing was signed.
Yeah.
So
And Red Cloud even says it, that if Sitting Bull had voiced his opinion, 20
wouldn't have
years
signed it
earlier,
before.
he wouldn't have done it.
Yep.
So they send the police to Sitting Bull's house. And they struggle ensues. They kill him. I believe they kill his son.
And that death is very accurate to how it happened in real life.
Yeah,
almost,
it's great.
Almost exactly to like what you
Really?
read about. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is how he died.
Just
That-
a stray bullet, just boom.
Basically, yeah. Shot from the side, exactly like that.
Wow.
And he's out for the count. This enrages a lot of people. But the movie makes it seem like Wounded Knee happens immediately. That is not the case. It's actually like 2 weeks later.
Really?
They
But
confiscate
this
the
starts
guns
it.
after.
This starts
Right.
the
So
the eventual.
the army wants to stop the ghost dance from happening. Ghost dance is happening, so they start rounding up people that are doing it. They want to disarm them. They want to take their guns.
Never
There
give
is-
up your guns.
Now, there is a lot of discrepancy and conflicting accounts of how this exactly went down. Nobody really knows. But in the movie, I tend to think that the movie got it right. There is a deaf guy, and he does not
is
understand
real.
what is happening.
This is real. This is how it went down. Yeah, they were right.
He does not want to give up his gun. Someone pulls it from him. Gun goes off,
Yep.
shoots a soldier,
Boom.
and now it's a battle.
Chaos goes. Yeah.
I read when I was doing a little bit of research on this that 200 Indians are killed and 25 police officers.
Something like that. 25 to 30. Yeah.
It is a massacre. It is the final massacre, and a lot of people will point to this as kind of like the exclamation point at the end of the frontier period of American history. Like, this is the moment the frontier is over, the West is closed. We are now in the new modern American age once this moment happens.
No,
Yeah,
actually,
I mean, there's no more Native Americans, really, right? Like, it's the end.
Yeah. It's 1891.
sorry for killing you. Here's a casino.
Well, all that.
You know, like that's kind of
that's the postscript. You
Yeah.
know, the government has come to its senses to some extent as far as the Indian issue. They want to make amends somehow. And how do you do? They do it mafia style, like governments do. It's like, well, we killed a lot of you. Here's some money. How
Yep.
much is it worth?
yeah.
And the Lakota don't want to take it. You know, that offer's been on the table for 25, 30 years, something like that. Maybe more. It's been since the 80s.
They still won't take it.
Yeah. There's the casino thing. A lot of these tribes own casinos, and like the profits from the casino get mailed to individual members of the tribe like every couple of months or so. I know I've heard someone talk who has 3 Indian children. His wife is an Indian who his kids are millionaires, you know, just from money that's
Jeez.
come in from the casinos.
They never
That's
have to pay
wild.
taxes either.
No,
Yeah.
they don't. That's wild.
It's
Now, I actually have I want to kind of go back because a thought came up. When they showed the scene of the situation where Sitting Bull got killed, right? It showed that the police officers killed him, but the police officers were just old tribe members.
in some cases, yeah. The reservation has its own police force, you
Right,
know,
but
these
it's
are-
all just people who are part of
Yeah,
his
it's people that
tribe.
live there,
You know? And I think the guy who kills his kid, they show it's a Native American killing the kid.
yeah.
I don't know if that's what happened, but I was kind of shocked to see it.
I'm not sure either. I don't know if it was a white guy, if it was an Indian.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Brian, did you look at anything
About what?
the actual person who shot Sitting Bull?
It was a Native American.
It
I
was.
believe.
Wow, that's okay. They went.
He's
really
not necessarily a Lakota.
No, of course not. But
So Bullhead took Sitting Bull outside. Bullhead ordered Sitting Bull to mount a horse. The Indian Affair agent said no. Sitting Bull refused to comply. The police used force on him. The Sioux were enraged. Catch the Bear, a Lakota, took out his rifle and shot Bullhead, who reacted by firing his revolver into the chest of Sitting Bull. Then there was another police officer, Red Tomahawk, who then shot Sitting Bull in the head, dropping Sitting Bull to the ground, and he died after that.
So
as
his own
headshot
people
will usually do.
his own people were just like, no.
Yep.
Wow. So they got that right. That's actually pretty surprising.
The movie, I honestly, I think it's a very honest movie.
Uh-huh.
It's it's like a snapshot of a period of a time.
Yeah.
You know.
And then they show him now the main character. Well, one of the main characters.
He describes himself as a witness to the whole thing. He will patch up the wounded from Wounded Knee, and he kind of has all these regrets about the life he has lived. He thinks he's betrayed himself and his people. He has this regret about not jumping off the train as a kid.
Yeah, he
going
is
back.
torn. Oh, we didn't talk about how he got his name. I think we skipped it.
Yeah.
Basically, she insulted
The
his
teacher.
heritage.
The teacher gave the chief of his village the wrong name on purpose.
Yeah, insulting him and like their culture, and was like, if anybody wants to correct me, they need a name, and he just picks a name, and
Just
he was
to do it.
mentally broken.
Yeah.
Yep.
She got him.
Now, the last scene, though, kind of, he's filled with these regrets, and this is true because it came from him directly, right? Like the real person.
You assume so.
Well, it's
Well,
based on a book.
No, he didn't write the book.
I know a lot of this
He
comes
didn't.
from
Okay.
Black Elk Speaks. Black Elk was a tribes guy who wrote about all of this. He was there.
Okay, there's also a book that's Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I forget who wrote it, but the guy I keep want to say Eastwood. It just feels
Mr.
like,
Ashwood.
yeah. Eastman. Eastman, obviously, he toured and was an advocate the rest of his life for, Native American rights. Anna Paquin, his wife, was a poet. She's a published author.
Yeah, it seems like if he jumped off the train, there's a good chance he would have just died young.
He would have been among them.
Or what?
Or
he was going to die at Wounded Knee.
Instead of being a doctor, kind of. Dawes at one point tells him, "You're as Indian as I am,"
Yes.
and I think he'd agree with that statement.
Seems like he did, yeah.
He sees himself as an outsider.
Well, it's a funny thing about concept of like race or religion or belief. Like, what makes you that person? Is it just your blood? Is it your belief? Like
Culture's weird. Yeah.
it's like are you just a Native American because of how you're born, or are you a Native American because of how you act in a certain culture? And it's an interesting concept to think about. One thing about this movie, the Coolidge administration studied the effects of the Dawes Act
1920s.
in 1928, and they discovered that the Dawes Act had been used illegally to deprive Native Americans of their land rights.
Yes.
Yep.
Which
That's when they came up with the offer that's been on the table, right?
and it has not been accepted, which I guess just gains interest.
I guess so, yeah.
Which is smart because, every time they make an offer with us, they get fucked. So,
Yeah. Well, why would you trust? Do you guys know about the 1973 thing?
Billy Jack?
No, not Billy Jack. In 1973.
I'm going to take this foot. I'm going to kick you on that side of your face.
In 1973, I guess you could call them a terrorist group. This was like radical hippie Indian guys. I think they're called like the Indian Movement. I should have looked this up before I started talking, but I'm doing this off memory. They took control of the town of Wounded Knee and held the entire town hostage for 73 days or something like that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And they demanded all kinds of like concessions. This was around the time I think Marlon Brando brought the Indian girl out for The Godfather at the Oscars. So yeah, this was like a big thing back then.
That was really in pop culture at that time,
Yeah, I think it was because of these guys.
And you have the crying Native American with the trash.
Oh yeah. I don't know if that has anything.
But
to
I'm
do
saying it's kind of in the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that does it for this movie. What were your thoughts, Steven?
I liked it. I personally I liked it, but as movies go, we can't just go by one little thing that I liked. So I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think that it's watchable. It's enjoyable. It's got a lot of good history. It's got a lot of accurate history. But there's little things here and there that make me angry, and that's just like, first off, the transition is just so insane.
It's not that big a deal.
It's not, but when it comes to movie making, it is.
It's
I
weird.
suppose.
You know,
It is
I've
weird. It's a
never
weird
seen
choice.
that in another movie.
It's a weird choice.
Yeah. But I liked it. I did.
I like this movie a lot. I'm giving it. It's not a fun movie,
Yeah.
but it is. I think it's well done and it's historically accurate.
Probably the most historically accurate movie we've watched.
It's up there.
Yeah,
It's up there.
Yeah, it might be. For that alone, I'm gonna give it a 7, 8.
Okay.
7.5.
Yeah.
You can say 7.5.
All right. I give it a 5. Totally fine movie. It's definitely informative. It's worth watching once. I wouldn't watch it again. As far as broccoli goes, it's probably like the best broccoli you can get. You know?
Brian,
Brian's only going to rate in vegetables
a
from
little
now on.
while ago, passed his notebook that he writes all his notes in over to me. And
The
I
picture.
guess he wants me to talk about his doodle for this film.
What does it look like
Brian
to you?
doodles for every movie. So
What does
let
it
me-
look like?
Let me take a peek
I
at
never
this.
look at them.
Let me take a peek at this. Okay, we have what appears to be the worst drawn caricature. Like, this is offensive. It's an Indian.
Is it offensive?
He's wearing war paint. I think those are supposed to be feathers, but they look like penises coming out of his head.
They're
And
feathers.
He's
Yeah.
holding a square. I assume that's a hatchet.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no artistic ability.
God, I can't wait to post
His
these.
war paint, though, is like cat whiskers. You know, it looks like a cat.
Oh, he didn't
with
color it in.
whiskers.
He just did lines.
Yeah, he just drew lines on the face. And the guy's kind of like going, whoa.
He is not doing that. So I will tell you, this started out with me trying to draw the Redskins logo. And I was like, I don't have the capabilities for this.
When do you draw? Is it while you're watching the movie?
Usually it's
Is it
like
before you watch
It's
the
usually
movie?
the opening credits or the end credits.
So you do it before you even see it.
Well, I know what the movie's about in many cases, you know?
If like a movie like this that you haven't seen, you do it at the end.
This one I did at the end, yeah.
But
And
like
this-
like a Gladiator, you'll do it before.
Yeah, and this one is hard because it's like Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee takes up like the whole title area. You know, so he had to be really small.
All right.
I guess that does it for this
Yeah,
episode.
and
Another one in the books, boys.
I believe the next one we're doing is 42. 42.
42.
42.
Is the next,
Yep.
the next one.
All right.
Let's do our credits.
Yeah.
Well, I was
gotta
about
do
to
the
say,
credits,
do
gotta
you-
the credits.
Do your thank you.
Do you want to say goodbye and then I'll.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
So, once again, I'd like to give a big thank you to Tell 'em Steve Dave, Walt Flanagan, Gam Steve Dave, for letting us record down in beautiful Hazlitt, New Jersey at Tell 'em Steve Dave Town Studios, TESD Studios. Come on down, visit them, buy some merch, say hi to Get 'em, say hi to Walt. Really cool, awesome place. Definitely recommend checking it out. Follow the podcast on all of our social media. That is all up and running. We have a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that good stuff. Follow us there. You could send us an email at reviewinghistorypod@gmail.com. Like the show on iTunes. Please give us a 5-star rating. It helps advertisers find us. You know, all stuff like that. It all just helps the show. Follow me personally on Letterboxd. I believe Steve and Anthony have Letterboxd accounts as well, where we rank the movies that we watch, and you could see their ratings, see what we thought of them. I personally review every single movie that I watch on my Letterboxd at Brian Rupert. You could see what I thought of movies like Doctor Strange or the Multiverse of Madness or The Batman, things like that.
Movies
Check
that are
out.
months old.
Yes, but they're blockbusters, or Avatar 2, which probably isn't out yet, but you know what I mean.
If the world hasn't descended into nuclear ash by the time you hear this.
Yeah. The last vestiges of civilization are this podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Brian Rupert, and we'd like to thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for listening.
And we'll see you next time. Bye.
I am the P-Man!